I never imagined that as I lay dying in a hospital bed, my own children would be plotting to hasten my end. All for my $10 million inheritance. My name is Albert Cromwell, and I'm 67 years old. Until March 15th, 2024, I believed I had raised two children who loved me. That Sunday night, everything changed. I was at my home on Preston Avenue, enjoying the lasagna I made every Sunday. It was a tradition I'd kept since my beloved Rebecca passed away 5 years ago. I always cooked her recipe, remembering how she'd tease me, saying mine was even better than hers. I knew she was just being sweet. Suddenly, it felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest. The pain was so intense that the fork slipped from my hands, clattering loudly in the silence of my dining room. I tried to stand, but my legs wouldn't respond. My left arm ached as if 1,000 needles were being driven into it. "Oh, God," I whispered, falling to my knees. With the last of my strength, I grabbed my cell phone and dialed 911. "Ambulance," I managed to choke out. "I think, heart attack." The next few minutes were a blur. I remember calling Sylvia, my 42-year-old daughter, and my 39-year-old son, Roger. They both arrived around the same time as the ambulance, their faces etched with a concern that, at that moment, deeply reassured me. "Dad, just relax. Everything's going to be okay," Sylvia said, as the paramedics lifted me. Her eyes were filled with tears, or at least they seemed to be. Roger ran alongside the stretcher all the way to St. Jude's Hospital. "Hang on, Dad," he kept repeating. "We need you." Those words gave me strength. I thought about how lucky I was. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. Once at the hospital, everything became a whirlwind of doctors, nurses, and beeping machines. Dr. Elias Weston, my trusted cardiologist for the past 10 years, appeared quickly. "Albert, you've had a myocardial infarction," he explained with his usual gravity. "But you got here in time. We're getting you stabilized. You'll be under observation." They assigned me to room 304, a private room. Sylvia and Roger didn't leave my side for the first few hours, taking turns holding my hand and whispering words of encouragement. As the IV and medications to stabilize my heart were hooked up, I heard their voices as a comforting murmur. They talked about calling relatives, organizing a schedule to stay with me, and how important it was for me to recover. "We'll do whatever it takes to make sure Dad is okay," I heard Sylvia say. "Yes, whatever it takes," Roger confirmed. At that moment, with my heart still beating erratically, I felt profoundly grateful. I thought of Rebecca and how proud she would be. The sedatives began to take effect. My vision grew blurry, and their voices faded as I drifted into a state between sleep and wakefulness. It was then that I heard something that would change my life forever. At first, I thought it was just the medication making me hallucinate, but their voices became clearer, closer. They were talking near my bed, believing I was completely sedated. "How much time do you think he has left?" whispered a voice I recognized as Roger's. "I don't know, but I hope it's not much," Sylvia replied, in a tone I had never heard from her before. My heart, already weak, gave a jolt that the machines immediately registered. But I feigned sleep, every one of my senses now on high alert. The medication kept me in a strange state, floating, but every word reached my ears with a clarity that chilled me to the bone. "Look, Sylvia," Roger murmured, moving closer. "The machines show he's stable, but at his age—" "I know," she replied, her voice cold. I've been thinking about the apartments. The one in Uptown West is valued at nearly $2 million, and yours in Trinity Bay is 2.5. My breathing remained shallow, but inside I felt as if I were being stabbed. These were the apartments I had given them when they got married. Properties still in my name. A safety net I'd provided so they would never have financial troubles. Plus, there's the $10 million in the bank accounts, Sylvia continued. I went through his documents when I was cleaning his office last month. Everything is very well organized. Roger leaned in even closer. And what about the current will? It mainly favors us, as it should, Sylvia answered with a satisfaction that turned my stomach. But you know, as long as he's alive, he can change it whenever he wants. A heavy silence stretched. The only sounds were the beeping machines and the distant footsteps of nurses. I kept my eyes closed, controlling my breathing, though my heart was pounding so hard, I feared the monitors would give me away. Come with me to the bathroom, Sylvia whispered suddenly. We need to talk more privately. I heard their footsteps move toward the small bathroom. The door clicked shut, but their voices, though quieter, still reached me. Roger, I've been thinking, I heard Sylvia say. Dad is very weak. The doctor said another heart attack could be fatal. So, what are you proposing? Roger asked. Well, hospitals are places where things happen. Patients his age with heart problems, sometimes they don't recover as we expect. The silence that followed was deafening. My mind refused to process it. These were my children, the babies I had held. Sylvia, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Roger whispered. I'm just saying, if his condition were to worsen naturally, it would be a blessing for him. He wouldn't have to suffer anymore, and we could honor his memory in the best way possible. Her voice was so sweet it contrasted horribly with her words. But how? The doctors, the nurses, cameras. I'll bring some natural things tomorrow, she said. Herbs that can be problematic for someone with his heart condition. No one would suspect a thing. It would be as if his heart just couldn't take it anymore. My entire body tensed. It took a superhuman effort not to open my eyes and scream. These monsters. They were planning to murder me. For money. Are you sure it will work? Roger asked. His question confirmed they were both in on it. Completely. I have a pharmacist friend, Linda, who explained certain substances. Concentrated extracts of oleander and foxglove. In small amounts, they'll cause a severe arrhythmia that his weak heart won't be able to handle. Mixed into his IV drip, they'd be undetectable in a routine autopsy. It would look like a natural death. And when? Roger asked. Tomorrow night, during the shift change. The nurses are always busy between 8 and 9. We'd have plenty of time. Roger sighed deeply. If we do this, it has to be perfect. We can't risk anything. It won't go wrong, Sylvia assured him, with a confidence that terrified me. I've been planning this since he started talking about revising the will last year. We can't let him donate everything to those stupid charities like he threatened to do after Mom died. They returned to the room and approached my bed again. Sylvia touched my forehead with a feigned tenderness that made me want to retch. Poor Daddy, she murmured. Let's hope he doesn't suffer much. Yeah, Roger added. May he rest in peace. Soon. They stayed for a few more minutes, talking about visiting hours, their voices full of that same filial love that anyone else would have believed. When they finally left, promising to return in the morning, I was left alone with the sound of the machines monitoring my betrayed heart. Tears streamed silently down my cheeks. My own children, my flesh and blood. Rebecca had always warned me. "Albert, that girl has greed in her eyes," she'd whispered years ago when Sylvia asked for $50,000 for a business that failed in 2 months. And Roger, always with unique opportunities that required small loans. I'd given them everything, believing it would guarantee their love. How naive I had been. I wasn't their beloved father. I was an obstacle. The physical pain of the heart attack paled in comparison to this emotional agony. But as the hours passed, the sadness began to transform into something colder, more calculating. Rebecca always said I had an exceptional analytical mind for business. That same strategic ability was now activating. If Sylvia and Roger thought they could murder me and inherit my fortune, they were gravely mistaken. My children would be no different from the treacherous partners I had dealt with in my career. I remembered my cell phone in the drawer of the nightstand. The nurses had said I could use it. Carefully, I checked that no one was in the hallway and took out the device. My hands trembled, not just from the medication, but from adrenaline. I needed evidence. Without proof, any accusation would sound like the delusions of a sick old man. I opened the voice recording app. The irony was bitter. Roger himself had taught me to use it the year before, to record business ideas. My own son had given me the tool that could destroy his plans. I set the phone to start recording with a single tap and placed it strategically under the magazines I'd brought from home. The microphone aimed toward where they had been standing. Then I practiced. I had to appear completely unconscious, sedated while remaining alert. It was an act that could save my life. I also began to plan. Margaret Fletcher, my trusted lawyer for 15 years. She had to be contacted. And the apartments. Sylvia's in Uptown West, Roger's in Trinity Bay. Both properties were entirely in my name. The occupancy agreements could be terminated. The monthly transfers of $3,000 to each of them. All of that could be stopped. But first, I needed irrefutable proof. Dawn began to filter through the window. Soon they would return, with their faces of feigned concern. This time I would be ready. The hunter had become the prey. At 8 a.m., Sylvia and Roger walked in. They brought coffee, acting like the model children the world believed them to be. "Good morning, Dad," Sylvia whispered, approaching. "How are you feeling?" I kept my eyes closed, breathing slowly. My left hand rested naturally on the magazines, hiding the phone ready. "He's very quiet," Roger murmured. "The medication really has him knocked out." "Better this way," Sylvia replied. "We don't want him to suffer." They moved toward the window, supposedly to open the curtains, but I knew it was to speak more freely. "Did you bring what we talked about?" Roger asked in a low voice. Discreetly, I tapped the phone's screen. The device vibrated slightly, confirming it was recording. "Of course," Sylvia answered. "I have everything ready in my purse. Linda gave me exactly what we need. The extracts of oleander and foxglove. In small amounts, they'll cause the arrhythmia. Undetectable." "And she's sure?" "Completely. It will look like a completely natural death." My heart raced. So much so that I feared the machines would alert them. But I managed to control my breathing. "What time are you planning to do it?" Roger asked. "Tonight, around 9 p.m. The nurse's shift change is at 8:30. There's always a 20-minute window. It will be our perfect moment. Afterward, we'll act like devastated children. We'll cry, accept condolences, organize a beautiful funeral. In 3 months, we'll start liquidating the properties. The cynicism in her voice made me nauseous. Have you thought about how we'll split everything? Roger asked. 50-50, as we've always agreed. 4 million each plus the apartments. We'll have to be smart about the taxes. And if someone suspects? Who's going to suspect? Dad is 67. He just had a massive heart attack. It will be the most natural death in the world. They approached my bed again. Sarah touched my forehead. Poor thing. It really will be a blessing when his suffering ends. They stayed for 2 more hours, taking turns holding my hand, whispering affectionate words. At 10:30, Sylvia left. Roger stayed until noon, making calls he didn't expect me to hear. Hey, Connor, he said in a low voice. Yeah, it's about what we discussed. We'll probably be able to move forward sooner than we thought. Let's just say certain circumstances have accelerated. Another call. Miranda, it's Roger. About the appraisal of my dad's properties. Yes, we're going to need those numbers very soon. This week. Each call was another stab. They had already started organizing the liquidation. When he finally left, I was alone with a recording that contained enough evidence to ruin their lives forever. With trembling hands, I stopped the recording. I had it. I had everything, every word. I pulled the phone out from under the magazines, my fingers weak and clumsy from the medication and the adrenaline crash. I needed to listen, to be 100% certain it was clear before I called Margaret. My thumb swiped at the screen, but my hand was shaking violently. The smooth plastic case slipped from my grasp. I watched, horrified, as the phone tumbled in slow motion. It hit the hard linoleum floor with a sickening crack. No, 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 I hissed, panic flooding my chest. With a painful groan, I leaned over the side of the bed, tubes pulling at my arm. I snagged the phone and pulled it back up. The screen was a spiderweb of shattered glass. I jabbed at the screen, trying to get to the audio files. The display flickered, then went dark. I hit the power button. Nothing. I hit it again, harder. The screen lit up, but it was glitched, lines of color obscuring the icons. I managed to find the voice memo app. The file was there. Recording 0001. I pressed play. A burst of static erupted from the speaker, loud and harsh. Then, nothing. Silence. I tapped it again. More static. No, I whispered. I tried to play it a third time. The screen flashed, and a new message appeared. File corrupted. It was gone. The recording. The smoking gun. My perfect, irrefutable proof was destroyed. I fell back against the pillows, my heart monitor beginning to beep in a frantic rhythm. They were coming back tonight, at 9 p.m. in less than 10 hours, and I had absolutely nothing. My mind raced. I was a 67-year-old heart attack patient. If I told the nurses, they'd think I was delirious, a side effect of the medication. They would call my children, my would-be murderers, to come and calm me down. There was only one option. I grabbed the phone. The screen was shattered, but the call function still barely worked. I dialed Margaret Fletcher's number. Margaret Fletcher. Margaret, I whispered, my voice cracking. It's Albert Cromwell. Albert, I heard. How are you? I was planning to visit this afternoon. Margaret, listen to me. There's no time. It's a life or death emergency, literally. What's wrong? You sound terrible. They're going to kill me, I choked out. Sylvia and Roger. They're planning to murder me. Tonight. There was a stunned silence on the other end. Albert, what are you talking about? Are you sure you're lucid? The medication. I am perfectly lucid, I snapped, terror making me angry. I heard them. I heard everything. They have a plan. Poison. Oleander and foxglove. They're getting it from a pharmacist friend named Linda. They're going to put it in my IV tonight, between 8 and 9 p.m. during the shift change. My God, Albert. I recorded it, Margaret. I had a perfect recording of them confirming everything this morning. But I dropped the phone. It's broken. The file is corrupted. It's gone. Another silence. This one heavier. Albert, she said, her voice now sharp and focused. This changes things. Without that recording, we have no proof. It's your word against two grieving children. Any legal action right now is impossible. They would paint you as confused and paranoid. So what do I do? Just lie here and let them kill me? No, she said. We get you out. Now. Your life is the priority. Forget the proof. We need to move. I'm coming to the hospital. Don't say a word to anyone. Don't eat or drink anything they might bring you. Act sedated. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She hung up. I was alone again, the clock on the wall ticking. 12:30 p.m., 8 hours to go. Margaret arrived in 15 minutes, a blur of professional energy. Albert, she said, keeping her voice low, I'm going to talk to Dr. Weston. You just stay quiet. She left the room. I watched the door, my heart pounding. This was it. If Weston didn't believe her, I was trapped. Minutes felt like hours. I could hear muffled, urgent voices from the hallway. Then Margaret returned, followed by Dr. Weston. His face was grave. Margaret has explained the situation, Albert, he said. I must be honest, without proof. It's an extraordinary claim. Elias, you've known me for 10 years, I pleaded. Have I ever been hysterical? Have I ever lied to you? Look at my face. I am telling you, my children are coming here tonight to murder me. He studied me for a long, agonizing moment. He looked at the heart monitor, at my chart, then back at me. No, he said finally. You haven't. He took a deep breath. Legally, I can't act on this accusation, but as your doctor, I can act on your medical condition. Your heart is stable, but this level of agitation is dangerous. I am authorizing an immediate transfer to a private facility with a more advanced cardiac monitoring unit. Officially, you're experiencing intermittent arrhythmias that require specialized care at the Pacifica Clinic. When? I asked. I'll order the private ambulance now. It should be here within the hour. Margaret will handle the admission. No one on this staff will know your destination, only that you've been transferred on my orders. We'll have you out of here long before this evening. Relief washed over me, so potent it almost made me pass out. Thank you, Elias, I whispered. You've saved my life. I'm saving my patient from cardiac distress, he corrected me, his face grim. That's all this is. Now let's get you ready. At 3:00 p.m., 2 paramedics arrived with a private ambulance gurney. Dr. Weston oversaw the transfer personally. The patient is being moved to the Pacifica Clinic, he informed the head nurse, who nodded, writing on a clipboard. He requires specialized monitoring. The family will be notified once he's stabilized at the new facility. As they wheeled me on the stretcher toward the ambulance, I felt a strange mix of relief and profound sadness. I was escaping, but I was also abandoning any hope of a normal family. The journey to the Pacifica was quiet. The paramedics monitored my vitals, unaware their patient was a man fleeing his own children. As we were pulling away from St. Jude's, my shattered phone buzzed. It was a text from Sylvia, time-stamped 3:15 p.m. Dad, just wrapping up some errands. I'll be there around 6 going to stay with you tonight. Roger will come after 8. We love you so much. I showed the message to Margaret, who was riding with me. Her face hardened. They were confirming the timeline, she said. They were on their way. I stared at the message. We love you so much. The war had begun. Upon arriving at the Pacifica Clinic, I was assigned to room 812, a private suite with a panoramic view of the city. The atmosphere was calm, secure. The head nurse, a middle-aged woman named Paula Knight, personally oversaw my settling in. Mr. Cromwell, she said, her voice kind but firm. Dr. Weston has informed us of your condition. We will be monitoring you 24/7, and we have specific instructions from Ms. Fletcher. Only authorized personnel will be given any information about your location. You are safe here. Thank you, Paula, I said. That's exactly what I need. At 6:30 p.m., Margaret arrived, accompanied by her associate, Catherine Ramirez, an elegant woman who carried a notary's briefcase. How are you feeling, Albert? Margaret asked. Physically fine. Emotionally shattered, I replied, sitting up in the new bed. But mentally clearer than ever. Are the documents ready? Everything you requested, Margaret said. The new will, the revocation of the old one, the terminations of the occupancy agreements, and the orders to suspend all automatic bank transfers. Catherine Ramirez approached with the papers. Mr. Cromwell, before we proceed, I must ask you as a notary. Are you making these decisions of your own free will, without coercion, and with a full understanding of the consequences? Completely, I said, and I want you both to understand exactly why. For the next 10 minutes, I recounted everything. The conversation, the poison plot, the 9 p.m. timeline, the shattered phone. When I finished, Catherine's face was pale. In my 20 years as a notary, she murmured, I have never witnessed anything like this. This fully justifies any decision you wish to make. We began the process. The new will was a masterpiece of legal precision. Every clause is designed to be unchallengeable, Margaret explained as I signed. Your entire fortune, the 10 million plus all properties, will be donated. The American Cancer Association will receive 3 million. The Jackson Howell Oncology Wing will receive 3 million. And the National Cancer Initiative will receive 2 million, plus the value of all real estate. And Sylvia and Roger? Completely excluded, not a single dollar. I signed the document. It felt like lifting a mountain from my chest. Next came the apartments. I'm signing to terminate the occupancy agreements for Uptown West and Trinity Bay, I confirmed. They will have 72 hours to vacate the properties, Margaret stated. I signed. Finally, the bank transfers. Stop them, immediately. I signed the last document. Catherine finished authenticating and stamping everything. It's done, Albert, Margaret said, packing the documents. They are completely nullified. These new documents will be filed first thing tomorrow. At that moment, my phone buzzed. Multiple messages. They were from Sylvia and Roger, sent from St. Jude's Hospital. Sarah, 8:15 p.m. Dad, I got to the hospital and they're saying you were transferred. Where to? Are you okay? Roger, 8:30 p.m. Dad, nobody will tell us where you are. We're really worried. Please answer. Sarah, 9:01 p.m. Dad, I've called every hospital. Tell me where you are. I showed the messages to Margaret. 9:01, I said, my voice hollow. The shift change. She's frantic because she missed her window. They're desperate, Margaret said. Not because they're worried, but because their plan failed. Let them be desperate, I said. I want them to spend tonight wondering what went wrong. The morning of March the 17th passed with a quiet I hadn't experienced in days. At 8 a.m., Margaret arrived with Catherine and a third man, Elijah Stone, from the New York County Clerk's office. "Mr. Cromwell," Elijah said, "I have reviewed all documentation. As of this moment, these documents have full legal force. Any attempt to challenge them would require proof of mental incompetence, which will be impossible given the documented circumstances." Margaret checked her watch. "It's 9:10. Are you ready for us to begin the notifications?" I thought of Rebecca. I thought of their cold voices. "I'm ready." Margaret dialed Sylvia's number first, putting the phone on speaker. "Martha," Sylvia answered, her voice tense and exhausted. "Do you know where my father is? We've been looking all night." "Good morning, Sylvia," Margaret said, her voice pure ice. "I am calling you under specific instructions from your father to inform you of important decisions he has made regarding his estate." "What decisions? Where is he?" "Your father has decided to completely revoke his previous will. Effective immediately, you and your brother have been totally excluded from any inheritance." The silence was profound. "What?" Sylvia finally stammered. "Furthermore, the occupancy agreement for your apartment in Uptown West has been terminated. You have 72 hours to vacate." "That's impossible. You're lying. He wouldn't do that." "All monthly transfers have also been suspended," Margaret continued, ignoring her. "All legal documents have been duly filed and are irrevocable. I want to talk to him. I'm going to sue. You manipulated him." "You have the right to try, Sylvia. But I advise you, any legal process will require significant financial resources. Resources you will no longer be receiving." The call ended with an abrupt click. "Denial, anger, legal threats," Catherine observed. "A predictable pattern." Margaret immediately dialed Roger's number. "Martha," he answered, his voice anxious. "Please tell me you know something about Dad." "Good morning, Roger. I'm calling to inform you of estate changes your father has decided to implement." She repeated the exact same information. Ryan's reaction was different. A long silence, followed by a bitter, cold laugh. "I see," he said finally. "Dad found something out, didn't he? I'm not authorized to discuss the reasons for his decisions." "You don't need to. The timing says it all." His voice was chilling. "Tell my dear father that this isn't over." "Is that a threat, Roger?" "It's a promise. Sylvia and I are not going to stand by while he takes away what is rightfully ours." "I'll remind you," Margaret said, "that nothing was rightfully yours. It was all your father's generosity. Generosity he had every right to withdraw." Roger hung up. "Mr. Cromwell," Elijah Stone said, "I recommend we officially document those threats." "Do it," I nodded. "I want everything on the record." The rest of the day was quiet. I was safe, but a new unease was settling in. Roger's threat felt different from Sylvia's hysteria. It was calculated. That evening, my shattered phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "Mr. Cromwell, I'm a nurse at St. Jude's. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't say anything. I saw your lawyer, Margaret Fletcher, talking with Dr. Weston. It wasn't right. She was talking about your money and some charities. She's the one who ordered the transfer. Please be careful. I think she's trying to get your estate. She's telling people you're unstable. Don't trust her." I read the message 3 times. A cold dread crept up my spine. Margaret? Was it possible? She was the one who said we had no proof. She was the one who coordinated everything. The charities. It was her suggestion. I remembered her words. Without that recording, we have no proof. Was she protecting herself? My world, which had just stabilized, tilted again. I was in a private clinic, under guard, with my only contact being the very person this message was warning me against. "Paula," I called out. Nurse Knight appeared. "Is something wrong, Mr. Cromwell?" I need to make a call, a private one. Can you get me a new phone, a prepaid one, and the number for a private investigator?" She looked at me, surprised, but nodded. "Of course. I'll have one brought to you." An hour later, I was speaking to a man named Harrison. "I need you to run a check," I said, my voice low. "On my lawyer, Margaret Fletcher, and on a nurse at St. Jude's. I need to know if there's any connection between her and the American Cancer Association, Jackson Howell, or the NCI. And I need to know who sent me this text." "It'll cost you," Harrison said. "I don't care about the cost. I care about the truth, and I need it by tomorrow." I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark, watching the city lights, my mind racing. Had I escaped one monster only to be trapped by another? Every time Nurse Paula came in to check on me, I tensed. I trusted no one. The next day dragged on. I ignored the barrage of calls from Sylvia and Roger. I just waited. At 4:10 p.m., the prepaid phone rang. It was Harrison. "Okay, Mr. Cromwell. Here's the rundown. Your lawyer, Margaret Fletcher, is clean, squeaky clean. No connection to those charities, other than a standard professional one. She's one of the most respected estate lawyers in the city." Relief. "And the nurse?" "There is no nurse," Harrison said. "The text didn't come from St. Jude's. We traced the burner phone. It was purchased yesterday afternoon, 3:30 p.m., from a convenience store in Midtown." "Where in Midtown?" "A block away from the Wellington Hotel." I froze. Why is that significant? "It's where your son, Roger Cromwell, is currently staying. He checked in yesterday." The pieces slammed into place. The 3:30 p.m. purchase, right after my transfer, right before he and Sylvia went to St. Jude's for their 9 p.m. appointment. The message wasn't from a nurse. It was from Roger. It was a trap. A false lead to make me turn on Margaret, my only ally. To isolate me, to make me look paranoid and unstable, just as the nurse had claimed. It was brilliant. It was diabolical. And it almost worked. Any last, lingering ember of paternal sympathy I had for Roger vanished. This wasn't a desperate, spoiled child. This was a cold, manipulative predator. "Mr. Harrison," I said, my voice like steel, "thank you. Send me your bill." I hung up. The war wasn't just about money. It was about psychological survival. And I had just been handed a new set of armor. Now I was ready. I used the new phone to call Sylvia's number. She answered on the first ring. "Dad? Oh my God. Dad, is that you? Please don't hang up. We need to talk." "Hello, Sylvia," I said calmly. "How could you do this?" she shrieked. "I just got documents. I have 3 days to leave my home. My home." "I think you know exactly why, Sylvia." There was a long pause. "Dad, if this is about something we said at the hospital, you have to understand. We were under so much stress. We were scared. We weren't serious." "Something you said?" "Sylvia, I heard you plan my murder in detail." "No, that's not what... We were speaking hypothetically. Just venting, trying to process the fear of losing you." "Hypothetically," I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "Bringing poison, oleander, and foxglove from your pharmacist friend Linda is hypothetical? Calculating the exact timing of the nurse's shift change, 9 p.m., is hypothetical? Discussing the 50-50 split of my $10 million is hypothetical? Another longer pause. I could hear her ragged breathing. Dad, please, she finally whimpered. We can explain everything. Just give us a chance. Let us see you. There is no misunderstanding, Sylvia. There is only the truth. We're your children. You love us. I did, I said, and the past tense hung in the air between us. But the people I loved wouldn't plan my death. I hung up the phone. The next morning, Nurse Paula came in for my checkup, her expression worried. Mr. Cromwell, I need to inform you about an incident that occurred during the night, she said. 2 individuals presented themselves at the front desk around 2 a.m., a man and a woman. They claimed to be your children and demanded to see you immediately. My pulse quickened. What happened? Our security followed Ms. Fletcher's instructions. They neither confirmed nor denied your presence. They explained that patient information is confidential. The woman became very agitated, shouting that she had a right to see her father, that she would sue the hospital. They were escorted off the premises. They were canvassing the city, sleepless, frantic, and cornered. Good. It wasn't over. The following night, Paula returned, looking even more stressed. Mr. Cromwell, they returned. Around 11 p.m., this time they brought an older man claiming to be a lawyer. A lawyer? He attempted to present a court order demanding access to your room. My blood ran cold. Our security staff is experienced, Paula continued. They identified it as a forgery. The supposed lawyer couldn't provide valid credentials. The court order had obvious formatting errors. It was fake. They had resorted to forgery, a serious criminal offense. What happened next? Security escorted them off the premises and warned them that any future attempt to enter with fraudulent documentation would result in an immediate call to the authorities. The woman, your daughter, she had what appeared to be a panic attack in the parking lot, screaming that it was unfair. The man, your son, had to carry her to their car. The image of Sylvia, hysterical and defeated, being carried away by Roger after attempting a felony, filled me with a profound, cold sadness. This was the end they had chosen. The next morning, my phone rang. It was Roger calling from a new number. His voice was completely different. The arrogance, the threats, all gone. He sounded defeated. Dad. Roger. Sarah's in the hospital, Mercy Summit. She had a nervous breakdown last night. After what happened at your clinic. She's sedated. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, and I meant it, but perhaps not in the way he thought. You're sorry? You caused this. Your sister is destroyed because her own father abandoned her. Roger, I said, my voice flat. Sylvia is destroyed because her murder plot failed and she lost access to my money, not because she lost me. There was a long silence. When Roger spoke again, his voice had changed once more. The calculating coldness was back. All right, Dad. You want to play hardball? We can play hardball. Is that a threat? It's information. I've been researching those charities. Did you know the American Cancer Association has controversies? Did you know their executives get huge salaries? You're trying to manipulate me with irrelevant information. Irrelevant? You're donating $10 million to organizations that waste money while your own children lose everything? My own children plan to murder me, I shot back. Any charity, regardless of its imperfections, is morally superior to you two. At least they're trying to save lives, not end them. Come on, Dad. We were never really going to hurt you. It was just a stupid fantasy. A fantasy so detailed it included pharmaceutical contacts and precise timing. Fine. Yes, we were desperate, he yelled. You spoiled us so much that we don't know how to live without your money. But that doesn't make us actual murderers. Finally, something resembling the truth. The fact that you were completely dependent on my money makes your betrayal worse, Ryan, not better. Your company had a price. When was the last time you called me just to see how I was without mentioning some financial need? He couldn't answer. Dad, he tried, his voice softer. I know we made terrible mistakes. We're family. Families forgive. Families forgive lies, Roger. They forgive minor theft. They do not forgive premeditated murder plots. Please. Sylvia's in the hospital. I've lost my apartment. We have nothing. You have exactly what you deserve. We're your children, he screamed. No, I said, the words coming out with absolute finality. You are two people who share my last name. The children I raised died the moment they decided my life was worth less than my bank account. Murderers are not my family. This isn't over. We'll contest everything. Good luck with that. You'll need money for lawyers, money you no longer have. I hung up the phone and put it on silent. I had no interest in hearing any more. Margaret arrived half an hour later. Arthur, I have information. Sylvia is indeed at Mercy Summit for an acute nervous breakdown. She's under psychiatric observation. And Roger? He was staying at the Wellington Hotel. According to my sources, he was several nights behind on his bill and was evicted this morning. Have they made any real legal attempts? They consulted with 3 different law firms, she said. None would take the case. Without funds for a retainer and with no solid legal basis, it's impossible. The forgery attempt also means they could face criminal charges if the clinic presses the issue. Everything was unfolding exactly as it should. They had wanted my death. Instead, they had gotten the death of any relationship that had ever existed between us, and that felt like perfect justice. 6 months later, in September, I found myself sitting in the garden of the family home in Middlebury, Vermont. I was watching my mother, Albert Cromwell, carefully watering her roses. At 89, she still had a vitality that inspired me. Arthur, she said, not looking up, you have better color in your face than when you arrived in April. I feel like a different person, Mom. The decision to move here to care for her had saved me. The tranquility, far from the ghosts of New York, had allowed me to heal. My health was better than it had been in years. Dr. Weston, who still traveled up for checkups, called my recovery extraordinary. The charities had been incredibly efficient. The ACA had established a new research center. Jackson Howell had created a state-of-the-art pediatric oncology unit. The NCI was funding 3 promising new studies. The apartments had sold quickly. The money added to the donations. Instead of financing parasitic lifestyles, that money was saving lives. As for Sylvia and Roger, I had no contact. Margaret informed me of their circumstances for legal precaution. Sylvia, after 6 weeks in the hospital, had moved in with her mother-in-law in New Jersey. She was working part-time at a grocery store. Roger had hit bottom more dramatically. After being evicted, he'd lived in his car until he sold it. He eventually found a job as a salesman at a used car dealership on the outskirts of New York, living in a rented room. Their last legal attempt, a lawsuit alleging my diminished mental capacity, had been dismissed in July. "What are you thinking about, son?" Evelyn asked, sitting next to me. "About how strange it is to feel free." Do you regret the decisions you made? No, Mom. I regret taking so long to make them. And you never feel a longing for them? I feel a longing for the children they once were, I said, before money corrupted them. But I feel nothing for the adults they became. That afternoon, a letter arrived. It was from the Garrison family. I opened it and found a photograph of a little girl of about 8, smiling brightly despite clearly undergoing chemo. Mr. Cromwell, the letter read, we are the family of Lily Garrison. Thanks to your generous donation, our daughter received an experimental treatment. Lucy is now in complete remission. We want you to know that your money not only saved our daughter's life, but preserved our entire family. We are strangers, but you will have our gratitude forever. Tears blurred my vision. This was why. That evening, I read the letter to my mother. Son, she said, her voice thick, Rebecca would be so proud. As I write these lines in my journal, I can say with certainty that I have never been more at peace. Sarah and Roger lost a father, but they gained the opportunity to learn to live on their own merits. I lost 2 people I thought were my children, but I gained the freedom to be who I truly am. My inheritance now consists of saved lives, preserved families, and a legacy of genuine love. And that is the most complete victory I could have ever achieved. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.